Hi guys, and welcome to Learn Extra Live. It's a Wednesday, grade 11s, it's your turn. I'm sure that you were watching the grade 10 show and I'm sure you had a fantastic time. But now it is your time. It is your time to tune in to facebook.com/Learn Extra. It's the time to post all of those questions on the page. Llewellyn is with us and I can see he's chomping at the bit to get started. But what I need you to do, guys, is to post. Please post those questions on the page. Now, this is a very important link. This is what you need to remember for the entire year. It's www.learnextra.co.za/live. What you're going to get there is your schedules, you're going to get your notes, and you're going to get previous week's videos. So you'll always have all of the resources all in one very same place. I will share it for today's notes on the page, so look out for those. Make sure that you've downloaded them, printed them, and you work through with us. Big up to Macmillan for proudly sponsoring the show, and everything we're going over comes from Solutions for All. It's a pretty awesome book. So try and follow along, guys. Remember to post those questions, because there's no such thing as a silly question, only the one asked after the exam. Right, Llewellyn?
That is so cute. How are you?
So good.
That's so nice. At least I can speak to you. I was
I
like
know.
thrown away this time. But anyway, I'll
shame.
take it like a man. Hello, how are you all doing? I hope you're doing well there. Well, today I've decided, I tried to decide, we're going to do reproduction in plants. But we need to start off where we ended off. Can you remember that we got different types of plants, but we're going to start with the most easy one you possibly can. Right, if you can remember them. If you were watching, we're looking at Bryophyte, Pteridophyte, and then we've got Gymnosperms, and then Angiosperms. Can you remember all of that? Now, what we need to do is we need to find out how they reproduce, because without reproduction, it's pointless, okay? Because I've always said this is what life's about, reproduction, and the more we have, the better for the species. Right, so before we go on to that, I want to have a look at, let's go, there we go, what we have entailed. I said to you perfectly, okay, if we just do it this way, we've got the Bryophyte, Pteridophyte, and Gymnosperms, exactly what I just said to you. That's what we're going to have a look at, and we're going to look at it in detail, right? But we first have to understand what reproduction is before we go through it. So what I've done is I've had types of reproduction, right? The types of reproduction is, if I can just get my pen going, I was told that green is beautiful. So the types of reproduction, we're first going to have a look at, if you have a look at the board, it's asexual reproduction. Now, that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Asexual reproduction is A, meaning it does not happen, and there no sex, so A, no sex, reproduction. We need to make things without sex. Okay, now, I know when I speak to certain people and I say sex, they all go funny and that, but you're in grade 11, come. We need to get used to big words, okay? Sexual reproduction is part of nature, so we need to get used to it. A means you ain't having it, ooh, you're not having it, and sexual reproduction is the main thing. Now, we have certain types. Okay, with asexual reproduction, we have a look at if we're going to reproduce using a root. Can you remember that? Can you think of any? Right? If you can, just send it and let me know. And then I'll try and throw it out there. There's one with roots. There's one with stems, right? There's one with leaves. Now, I want you to think about that very carefully. Leaves is quite amazing. Okay? You're going to think it's a leaf, but it's actually not. Try and see if you can find out which one that is for me. Okay? And then, the nice thing is you only need one person or one part of that animal or plant that's going to do this reproduction, okay? And the last thing is there's no fusion. It doesn't matter where the other person is. We're going to make a new plant whether you like it or not. How's that? Okay, now, the second one is, of course, sexual reproduction. That is where we take a male gamete, a female gamete, and we put them together to make a new thing. There we go. It's the best way I can put it. You take them, if you look at, it's the fusion, if you look at the board, it's a fusion of gametes, so in other words, a male and a female, right, to produce a genetically new plant. Now, that is the most important thing. It makes a genetically new plant. Because we want everything different. That's why we do this. Okay, can you imagine your father having a new one of him, identical, right? I mean, I love my dad, but that's pushing it. I want to be myself. Hey, what do you think?
I think so.
Definitely. I want to be myself. There's
Definitely.
no one else like me, so I
No.
want to be myself. Right, so, and the second is you need more than one person. Plain and simple, we all know this. Right, so, we need to go have a look at certain things. Oh, I think I went to the wrong one. There we go. The advantages and disadvantages. Now, everything in life, you get advantages and disadvantages, right? First of all, if you think about it, what could be an advantage, or did I start with disadvantage? I did. Advantages of asexual reproduction, okay? I want you to think about that very carefully. If we have a look at the board, it's quick and efficient, which means what happens is if I have a look at asexual reproduction, the best way to look at it is mitosis. And I know you've done mitosis. Right. Now, mitosis is making up of a brand new cell. Can you remember the mitosis? It starts, right, with interphase. If you remember, it's interphase, prophase, It's interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. You all know those things, right? So you got this one, and it doubles, and it makes two identical cells. That's exactly what asexual reproduction is, right? It's making identical cells. They're exactly the same. It's quick, and it happens perfectly, and it doesn't take as much energy, right? No energy, well, a little bit of energy, but not very much, right? Then the next one is you only need one person, okay? You don't have, I mean, just think about this. If humans had to go out, you didn't have to go and fetch a partner. You could stay home, and you can have a family. Just by yourself. That's what it's like. That's asexual reproduction. I hope that's making sense. Right? So, one person is required. You don't need a partner. Okay? That's one person. And the next one, the desirable characteristics are not lost. So, think about this. I am perfect. How do you like that?
Obviously.
I'm perfect. And I don't want to lose anything that's perfect about me. Right? So if I did asexual reproduction with myself and made a new one of me, right? That one would be exactly the same, so he'd be perfect. You wouldn't lose anything. Okay? Now, when I speak to you later about that, you must understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so I would be perfect and my new child would be perfect. Okay, cool. Now, the disadvantage, of course, genetically, here it is, genetically, so inside your DNA, genetically identical to parents. Okay, there's no variation. As I said, perfect. But also, think about this. Whatever's bad with me, because I'm telling you there is something, I just need to find it.
One day you will, Llewellyn. One day you will. It'll be hard.
Well, there's something bad about me. That means on this person, there's going to be something bad about that person, right? We are identical in every way, okay? That's the first thing. And the second thing, competition for resources. Now, if you think about plants, right? If I do asexual reproduction, it means this plant is standing here. From itself, it makes another plant. And where's this plant going to land? Right next to me, right? And that plant's going to go through sexual reproduction and land right next to him. Right? Now, just think about it. All of us sitting here, now we're sitting in this long row, and we are fighting for water, for nutrients, for sunlight, for all of that stuff. Can you imagine that? So now it's an argument between the three of us for food, for water, for nutrients. That is not a very good thing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's terrible. Okay? So they will fight for that. Right? That is why, if you remember when I spoke about the moss, right, or the bryophyte, they were all close together and packed nice and tight together. Okay, very close together. So that's the advantages and disadvantages the advantages and disadvantages of having asexual reproduction. The next one is sexual reproduction, the advantages and disadvantages. Right, now, advantages. It's plain and simple, okay, genetically different. So put it this way, okay. I'm good at sport. Now, this doesn't happen like that, so don't always think, but I'm good at sport, right? And I'm going to use Indy, okay? She's very, very clever. She is so bright. it's unbelievable, right? Hannah.
But I'm not so good at sports. Is that what you're going to say?
That's it,
That's
right.
exactly what Llewellyn is getting at.
Perfect. And we have a kid, and our kid is going to be bright
and
and good at
sporty.
sport. Hey, what more could we want?
What a good team.
Exactly. So all the nice things are together. So that is cool, right? That's genetically different. Okay, so it's not just sport. Now the child's also clever. That is perfect. That is one of the best things that is the best things out. And hopefully they've got your looks, because with mine it's never going to work.
Bless
Okay,
you,
they
Llewellyn.
reduce
Bless you.
this is also a nice thing. Okay, parasites. Sorry, I just underlined it so that you can understand where I'm coming from. Parasites, they stay inside, for example, me. If I've got a parasite inside of me, right, and I go through asexual reproduction, I'm going to pass that parasite on to this one, right? Now, if it's not, if I have to make a gamete and take another gamete and they join with sexual reproduction, that disease doesn't go with. That parasite doesn't go with. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's a very nice thing. That is one of the top things about having a sexual reproduction thing, right? So that is perfect. The offspring, here it is, the offspring do not, okay, get that disease or that parasite. I keep saying disease, it's a parasite. Right, so let's have a look at the new species can develop a result of genetic variation. So in other words, think about this. I've got a nice one, I must just remember it. Can you remember that liger? Okay, everybody spoke about, my friends all talk about a liger, where they take a lion and they get a tiger and they mate them together to make a liger.
I'll post a picture on the page, okay?
Oh, please,
yeah,
that'll be
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Now,
yeah.
it's a big lion. It's about that big, right? It's huge and it's about this size, okay? And it's so big and it's clumsy and it will not survive because it's a bad combination, right? It's a very bad combination because it's two different animals. So it's a terrible way of looking at it, but that's a new little species. If it could breed, it would be a new species, but it can't. Now, if I have a look at genetically different, I could take, it might not be great, but the African elephant and the Indian elephant. Now, remember their ears are different, so just bear with me, okay? And they mate, they could be a new child, right? Their child could be a different species, okay? What about if you take this big bear, right? And you take a very small bear, right? And these bears mate. You're going to get a bear that might be in between, but could be faster, stronger, harder. And that's the type of animal we want, right? It might change in color. It might do a different thing. So maybe we all had bears that used to run in the open wild and we need a bear to climb trees. This middle bear is the one we need. It will start adapting and it'll evolve. Okay, we're going to learn about evolution. So I'm just putting you on the loop so that you understand it. Right. So genetically making a new resulting in a new genetic variation, which means evolution's taken place. Now let's have a look at disadvantage. Okay, this is the biggest one, and I think it's really unfair. Right, only half the population can reproduce. Now that doesn't sound very clever. Well, think about it, right? I'm a man. I cannot reproduce. Can you believe that, hey? I cannot reproduce. I need a woman who carries a baby to reproduce. So I cannot make a new me, but she can make a new person. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Okay, so only half of us, the ladies, can make the babies. The man can't.
I'm going to say, it's all about the women, eh? It's all about the ladies.
Oh, without us, you wouldn't get far. Right. So do you get what I'm trying to say? So only half of us can produce offspring, whereas asexual, whether I'm a male or female, I can make another plant. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Very, very important. Now, that's the first thing. Only half the amount can actually do it, right? Of course, I've spoken about it. 2 people are needed. Has to be 2. Okay. Without the other one, you can't do anything. Okay. Next thing, okay, the genetic characteristics are not always guaranteed to be passed on. So what I mean there is, okay, remember I said I was good at sport and Indy was very clever, okay? Think about this.
And good looking.
Yeah, and good looking, sorry. I didn't even think about that, okay?
Clever
and
good
good looking, right? Our baby, right, could be useless at sport. In other words, it could be her, right? And when it comes to the brain power, it could be me. there's no point.
So it could actually cancel each other out.
Exactly. So we've got nothing. There's no positiveness. Can you get where I'm trying to come from? Right? The positives could not go through, but the negatives might go through. Then what do we do? Okay, there we sit with a child that doesn't help with anything, if you get what I'm trying to say. Okay, and but what I'm going to do is the last one. Okay, guarantee the longer time. You see what happens. I'm going to get back to that. Okay, it builds up things, right? We're going to be stronger. We're going to be harder. But before I carry on, I need you guys to go for a break. And if you go for a break, I'll see you in a few minutes. Have a cup of coffee. We need you awake.
Yes, exactly. And that's when, you know what I do as well. I also just jump up and down, grab a cup of, a glass of water, get excited. Life science is all about you guys. So this is such a fun subject, and Llewellyn's full of energy. I can't see how they wouldn't be enjoying the show. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. See you now. Hi guys, and welcome back to Grade 11 Life Science. If you can hear Llewellyn laughing, we are just having so much fun here in the studio, and I hope that Grade 11s, you are having fun at home too. Please post your questions onto our Facebook page, and if I don't burst out laughing, I might be able to get through this little thing. So, Llewellyn, I don't know if you know this, but it's all about random acts of kindness. This is what this is all about. So, big ups to Simba for thankfully giving us this amazing Cheetos hamper, which is for you guys if you win. And what you need to do is you need to post a random act of kindness onto our events page. And guys, you don't have to pay for anything. It can be something small. It's just an act of kindness. It's paying forward in any way that you can possibly. We've also got these awesome CDs. There's 5 CDs, and it's all about the month of love. Hey, quickly, director, get Llewellyn dancing. Quickly.
Got to dance.
He missed you. Okay, so I think without further ado, we're going to pass it straight to Llewellyn. Post those questions on our page. It's facebook.com/LearnExtra. Also chat to us on Twitter @LearnExtra, and let's get the show rocking. Llewellyn, take it away.
Now, the dance
Yes.
again, I was asked so nicely. But anyway, okay, just for the record, the random act of kindness, ask the old ladies first before you help them cross the road. Now do they want to stay that side? Just for the record. Okay, so now, we're going to start with the reproductions. Now, I need you to understand this very carefully. We're going to start with the ones that are not that complex, right? And then go to the complex ones. Okay, so we're going to first start off with the least complex plant, if you look at the board, is your Bryophyte. As soon as I get some color, is your Bryophyte, which is, there it is. Okay, cool, the Bryophyte. Now, can you remember what it is? It's a moss. Okay, now, look at these big words. I put them on for a reason, okay? They Homo Spores. Now, what is Homo Spores? I want you to remember everything that you can understand. Homo, in biology, or in life science, should I say, means identical or the same, okay? So homo means the same. Hetero means different. So if I think about it, Homo Spore means, I wish I would stop doing that. Homo Spore, this part, if I look at the screen itself, Homo, there, homos, those ones, right, means the same. So they've got the same spores. Now when we talk about Homo Spores, we're talking about the sex organs, or if they're male or female. So if you think about it, Homo, whether it's male or female, okay? Which means Homo means they're all the same. So they're either all male or they're all female. So this plant will be male only. This plant will be female only. Just remember that, okay? Homo means exactly the same, okay? The Gametophyte generation is dominant. Now, Gametophyte generation. Remember, when we got to moss, we said they had alternation of generations. Now, this is a difficult thing to understand. Alternation of generation, and I'm going to explain it nicely. Okay, so you better be listening carefully. Now, the Gametophyte phase, in other words, can you remember when I said to you, when I was talking to you, I said we had this thing called 2N and we had this thing called N, or should I say it's diploid and haploid, right? Those are the two things. Now, remember, this one is every single one of our cells in our body, right? It's the amount of chromosomes that is in every single cell. Chromosomes is your genetical makeup, right? It's all those chromatin network inside your cells. Can you remember that? In the nucleus, inside there, the chromatin network, that's where we get the diploid, your diploid cells. The whole thing is a diploid cell. When we have a look at the haploid, sorry, I've gone mad, haploid, which is N, it's half the amount of chromosomes. In other words, we'll find them in our sex cells, in our sperm. Can you remember? In the eggs. They have to have half. Can you remember I said to you guys that humans have 46, right? Or was it 46, right? And we go down to 23 each. Can you remember? So 46, 23. Can you remember that? Okay, we need 23 from mommy, 23 from daddy, and we make 46, so a new child. Okay, now, that means that that is a gamete, and that is a normal. That's the Sporophyte generation. So what we're saying, if you have a look at this, is the Gametophyte generation, right? The Gametophyte generation is mainly in this phase. That's quite strange. Can you imagine your life is all about being an egg? And then now and then half your, like right to the end of your life when you're about to die, you pop out a chicken. Hey, how cool is that? That's exactly what I'm saying here. Hey, India, I think that's the best way to look at it. Okay? Also, the male sperm has to swim to the female. So, what I'm going to do here, and let me just finish here. The Sporophyte generation, okay, only the females have the Sporophyte generation. But what I want to do is I want to get to this part. That's the piece I want to get to so that I can explain it to you perfectly. Now, if I have a look at that, we're going to start off with this piece over here. I want to get to my nice color. Okay, this is the Gametophyte phage. Now, that means that that is the egg. Okay, the egg is very important. Okay, because that's what it lives in. That's what we see. It's those big green things. They are half the amount of chromosomes. Okay, can you remember it? I'm starting with that because it's going to be quite strange. Okay, so maybe you're not understanding me. Do you get where I'm coming from? It's the worst way to look at it. So I'm going to start. I'm going to start like way back this way, over here, with the seeds. Can you remember the seeds? You plant a seed and what grows? A big tree. Okay, cool. So we're going to start here with the seeds. Over here, it's called the spores, right? Okay, what makes the seeds? This plant over here. Now, this plant, this piece of the plant, see this part over here? This piece of the plant makes spores. Now, this piece of the plant is 2N. Are you all with me here so far? This part of the plant, okay, is N. That's quite strange, isn't it? And what happens? This drops off seeds. These seeds grow into that. That is N. I'm just going through it. That's the female part of the plant. That's the male part. Okay, it grows, and there's the 2N again, and there's the N. Now watch this carefully. Alternation of generation. Okay, notice that let me put it all the way to there. This part has your 2N's in it, right? Can you remember? And this part only has N's in it. Or this part is diploid, this part is haploid. Now, let me tell you. We're going to start off with me. I'm the diploid, right? So I'm this piece here. Okay, we're all happy. Now, I need to make an egg. Okay, I can't say an egg. I need to make my gametes, right? And if you have a look at it, we're in grade 12, so I'm talking about sperm. Grade 11. I'm talking about sperm. Okay, now, think about this. If I did it this way, okay, this is where I am, right? I get my sperm, right? I put it on the ground. Understand where I'm coming from? The sperm starts growing. It's half of me. So it's a little baby. It's about that size. That's how big it stays. Okay, cool. That's that one, right? It's only half the amount of chromosomes. So it can never be the full me. It will only be half of me. Right. You're getting this. Okay? Then what happens is my little one and somebody else's also done it. Their little one, that's a little girl, they get together, right? They make a baby, and their baby grows my size. Does that make sense? Let me do it again. That is alternation of generation. It's the most confusing thing ever. But the minute you understand, it becomes easy. Watch again. That's me, okay? That is the Sporophyte generation, okay? It's 2N. It gives off spores, the same as I do. I give off sperm, okay? Right? That one lands on the ground, okay? Sorry, I'm just trying to get it here. It lands on the ground, and it starts to grow, okay? It'll only grow half the amount because it's only got half the characteristics of me, okay? Half of what I've got. Somebody else's will do the exact same thing. Their little one will only grow half, okay? Half the amount of chromosomes. They get together, and they make a full baby. So it's nice and big. That's called alternation of generations. But in my case, I live for a long time. In this case, it doesn't. So let's have a good look at it quickly, okay? There's the spores. The spores go and fall on the ground. When it's on the ground, it starts to grow. Now remember, the spores are, I need to get the eraser. The spores here are actually N. They're half the amount of chromosome numbers. Can you remember that? If it's N, okay, it means that half the chromosomes are missing. Okay. They grow up. Now, normally you would take a sperm and an egg and make a new animal or plant. Right. Okay. And it grows, it makes a new, it sits here, sorry. It sits and it grows up to that animal, the short one. Right? That short one, you get a plant over here. I'm just going to make another plant over here so you can see it. That plant might be male. That plant will be female. Can you remember that? Okay. Those plants, this male sends the sperm out to this female plant. It lands in. As you can see, the sperm comes in, lands in there. It fertilizes. From here, the new bush grows out. And this little bush, can you see how I've drawn it here? Only this pink thing over here is 2N. So that thing doesn't last very long. It dies after a while. Okay, it doesn't last long. This one grows for a long time. Okay, and this thing, to be able to get this to over there, it needs water. It has to swim. Okay, as you can see, there is a sperm. It has to swim to get in there. Okay, that's the quickest I can do it so that you can understand it. And we've got lots to do. So that is your bryophyte. Okay, if I have a look at the next one. Okay, this is the the fern. Now, the fern has got sories. Can you remember that underneath the fern you get those little black dots? Those are sories. So the sory contains haploid spores. Remember what haploid is? It is complete. It's the half the amount of chromosomes. Right. So half the amount of chromosomes. Okay. That spore falls on the ground and then it makes this little plant. Now this little plant is the coolest thing out. It's because it's the month of love, right?
It is. It's the month of love.
So it gives it one of those. Can you remember the heart shape, right? Gives you a heart shape. And that thing's called a prothallus, right? Now, a prothallus is where you get the male and the female part of the plant, right? Together, it will come together. Together, they, how do I say it? Together, they make a new plant. Now, in that, underneath, like right underneath it, you will get like false little roots and stems. Remember, it's a thallus, which means not true. And you will get the female part of the plant or the male part of the plant. And remember, this is also Homo Spores. So in other words, only the one will be female and the other one will be male. Okay, you've got to remember that. It's very, very important. Then they come together and the male will swim to the female. When it gets here, the female will grow a new little plant. Does that make sense? Let's have a look. It looks so confusing there, doesn't it?
And it really is a heart. Guys, I have actually just Googled the prothallus, and I'm about to post the heart shape.
That's it.
It's amazing.
That's exactly.
No, it really is.
It is. It's perfect. So now let's have a look at it. Here is the fern that we look at all the time. Right. The fern, underneath the leaf, okay, if I take this leaf that's here and I look underneath it, I've got these little black dots. That is what the black dot looks like. In here are the spores, okay? The spores burst open, and look how they drop the spores off. Okay, remember spores are haploid, half the amount of chromosome number. They grow into, if I have a look at this, there's the heart-shaped prothallus. Can you see it? Okay, the heart-shaped prothallus, you get the female part, there it is, and you get the male part, there it is. Remember, it's two different prothalluses. The male swims to the female, And look over here, it starts growing back out and it becomes a new leaf. Okay, that's how you need to know it. Okay, that's quick and simple and easy. Okay, you need to know how to label these things. Okay, so make sure you know it. Okay, then the last one that I want to show you for this week is your Gymnosperms, right? Now your Gymnosperms is very, very complicated. Okay, now let's have a look at it. They're heterosporous. In other words, hetero meaning male and female on the same plant. I hope you remember that. Male and female on the same plant, right? The male cone produces pollen, okay? And the female will produce eggs, of course, okay? And if we have a look at it, female cone produces ovules, which is your eggs, right, containing them female. The pollen will normally land on the ovum, and the tube will grow down into the bottom, and it'll fertilize each other, and it'll sprout, it'll fall off, it'll go to another side, fall into the ground, and it'll create a new plant. So let's have a look at it quickly. Okay, I am pushing you so that you can get this. Let's have a look. There is the tree. You get the female cone, and you get the male cone. The male cone produces pollen, the female the egg, well, the ovule. I'm just making it egg so you can understand it. This one drops all the pollen onto there. The pollen goes down a long tube. You can see over here, goes down a long tube. It fertilizes the two eggs, right? The eggs stay dormant. We create a seed. There's a seed. We throw the seed onto the ground. It goes into the ground. Roots start growing, and it fertilizes, and it becomes this nice, nice big tree. Okay. I think you need a break because I do. Okay.
Fantastic.
So I'll see you in a couple of seconds or minutes.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, also just remember, big up to Macmillan for sponsoring the show. If you do have solutions for all, you can follow along. Also, don't forget you can download those notes, which are on our Facebook page. I've put the link on the Facebook page, but what you need to do is, if you want to just follow the link, it's www.learnextra.co.za/live. We'll see you now after the break. Hi guys, and welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed the break, and I hope that you're having as much fun as I am in this lesson. I'm having too much fun. I think Katiwe says here, am I the only person who didn't know about the LIGO? What a weird combination. I heard about it, but I learned about it on Life Science last year.
It's cool,
Llewellyn.
hey?
Yeah,
It's cool.
Yeah.
And when you get to grade 12, you're going to learn about it and why it happens and why it's not good and why it is.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Okay, so now you've got some questions that you have that you actually want to kind of work through. You let me know when you're ready for some questions from the page.
Before we go, let me get this going. Okay. I had got some questions from Solutions for All, Life Science, right? And they had some nice questions because these are the type of questions you're going to be asked. Okay. Now the first question, as you can read on the board, right? I'm going to highlight certain things. In what way does sperm in moss and ferns, differ from those in spermatophytes? Now, those are big words, huge words. Okay, so automatically they've told you we're looking at a moss and we're looking at ferns. Cool, so we've got those two. But what is a spermatophyte? Okay. Spermatophyte means they're not going to go through alternation of generation. They're not going to make spores. Can you remember I said the capsule or whatever spits out all the spores and the spores grow into like the prothallus and that, right? These have only got sperm. Okay, so now, first of all, what is the difference? When you get to moss, right, and ferns, you need water. So you will notice that moss and ferns always grow where there's a lot of water. If you have a look where you find moss, it's normally where things are leaking water so that they're over water. Water's over them, right? And if that happens, then the sperm can get to the female's part by swimming. They've got flagella, which means movable parts that actually move and make them swim. So if I'm not mistaken, a moss's one looks something like that, right? And a fern's one looks, you won't believe it, it looks funny little curls, right? And then at the back here, it like makes a huge squiggle to swim with. if my memory isn't serving me right. But look at the big squiggles. Those are the main things. It actually makes it swim, right? Now, spermatophytes, these brothers, right, they've got stuff called pollen, right? Now, what happens is we get this big pollen grain, and inside here, we got the sperm cells, okay, the 2 little sperm cells. So this thing covers them. That's what those, you know when you look at big flowers and you get that yellow stuff? Hey, Indy, can you remember what pollen is?
Pollen, of
That's
course. It's the stuff that makes me sneeze and I'm highly allergic.
Nice.
Ah.
And bees love the stuff because they don't actually like it. They want the nectar, but it goes all over them and they go from one plant to another plant and they can do it that way. So that is the big difference. These swim in water, these don't. Okay, that's the biggest difference. Now, if I have a look at the next one, what is the reason, okay, what is the reason for the difference in structure to the sperm mentioned in the question above? Now, I'll make sure I answer my questions perfectly. And if you've noticed, I've already answered this question in the top. I said to you, the reason why it is like this is because the moss and the fern, actually the sperm has to swim in water. Now think about it. If there is no water, can the moss and the fern reproduce sexually? Indy, do you think you can tell me? If there's no water,
No.
do you think that the moss or the fern can reproduce sexually? What do you think? Yes or no? Just a simple answer. Take a guess.
No.
Perfect. That's a lovely answer. No, because the sperm cannot swim to the egg. Right. It cannot get there. It needs the water. That's the first thing. Second thing, if you have a look at the spermatophyte, they have pollen. So pollen can flow in the wind, right? It needs to be light and fluffy. It can go into the wind. It's got to be carried by animals. It's like bees and that. So you must understand it's completely different. Okay, so the structure is completely different because sperm of the moss and the fern have to swim in water where the spermatophytes don't. Okay, that's a nice question. I like that question. The next one, as soon as I get there, why do watch this, this is cool, Why do gymnosperms and grasses produce more pollen, right, than spermatophytes? Okay, now, why do plants like this produce a lot of pollen? So this is the reason why Indy sneezes all the time when it gets to pollination time, right? This is the main reason. So you want to get rid of it, get rid of all the grass and everything like that, and she'll feel much better. Okay, this is very important. Now, if I'm going to do this. I have this big male cone, okay? I'm just going to make it a big male cone over here, right? And we're talking about the gymnosperms, right? And over here on this tree, right, there we go. We have another branch, and here is the female cone. Okay, the female cone. We're all happy with that. You get that? Okay, now, if I take this thing, it's just got full of pollen and it goes mad. That's so cool, right? And it has a lot of pollen. Now, it needs to get all that pollen, into this female part. Now, remember, let's have a look at a cone of the female, right? It does this. Can you all see what I'm trying to do? It does this. And if I come back, and it does that again. And there we go. That's what a female thing looks like. And we need to get the sperm all the way into there. Hey? That is going to be hell. So what he needs to do is, he doesn't just go, here, take your share. There's a couple for you. Hey? And he has like 3 for you, just in case. There's 2 spare. Right? It's not like that. What it she does is, I mean, think about it. If you want to wet Indy, if I wanted to take Indy and wet her, okay, and I want to make sure she's wet, how many drops am I going to throw on her? 2 or 3? That's like catch. What happens if I miss? It doesn't help, right? I mean, I need to take a bucket of water. You get what I'm trying to say? If I take a bucket of water, how much am I going to miss? If I take a teaspoon of water and throw it at her, she's going to go, missed, right? If I take a bucket, she's going to go, and she's going to be sopping. You get my point? So the more there is, the more chance it has of getting inside. Okay? That is the biggest reason. It uses wind pollination. If we use wind pollination, It lets the wind take the pollen and take it to the female. But the wind doesn't know where the female is. It doesn't know the female, right? It takes it and it moves it all the way to the female part. But now only 4 sperm get there instead of 10. You get what I'm trying to say? We need to make thousands of sperm to make sure that at least 10 get there. Okay, do you understand? That's why they make so much pollen. That is the exact reason why, if we have a look at it, you have your grasses and your sperm, your grasses and your gametophytes, your gymnosperms actually have so much pollen. Okay, I think that's a stunning question. It's a very nice question. A lot of people are going to ask that question. Now, I'm going to go on to the next one. Okay, I want to know. Let me get my pen out. I'm getting this hang of green, right? How have the spermatophytes achieved the independence from water for reproduction? Now, remember I said to you that your moss and your fern need water. You understand this? So what do? We make it a more complex animal, right? We want this tree to grow. We want to actually make a new plant, right? So to be able to do that, you normally need water if it's moss and ferns, right? So now we decide, it's not going to work for us. We need, no matter what, we need there to be sperm and an egg to create a new plant, okay? Whether there's water or not. So what actually happens is we put it in a pollen grain. Okay. We've taken this locomotion of water away, and we've just put both of them in the pollen grain. If it's in the pollen grain, right, then it just gets taken to the female part, and all it has to do is dig a tube all the way down to the female. That's all it does. It doesn't have to swim. It doesn't have to go find anything. It gets transported in a car. I mean, think about it. The pollen is a car for these little things, and it goes all the way to the female part, lands on top there, and it digs a hole down. That's easy. That is so cool. It makes sure that it happens. You get what I mean? So it doesn't need water. Whether there's water or not, who cares? The pollen is going to get to the ovule. You get what I'm trying to say? That's a very nice question. Next thing. Why has the reducing... it's going to be a long day. Why has the Gametophyte generation have been advancing to spermatophytes? So why is it that the Gametophyte generation is an advantage, okay? Is an advantage to spermatophytes? So in other words, why is it that it's better to have your pollen instead of having a prothallus? You know what a prothallus is? Can you remember? It's that heart shape, nice and fair, love, all that stuff. Heart shape, prothallus, okay? That thing, right, is... if that thing dies, we're history, okay? If there's no water, it's very vulnerable. It can't get anywhere, okay? There's a big problem for that. So what we do is we put it into pollen, and that pollen can protect it, okay? It doesn't dry out. All it needs to do is dig that tunnel, remember. So we put a capsule around it, stop it from drying out, and it stays with the main part of the plant, the Sporophyte generation, okay? It stays with the Gametophyte generation. It stays with it. It all happens inside that. It doesn't have to be sent out and try and live by itself. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's a very, 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 very important process, this. It's the best thing. The more complex the plant becomes, the more it needs protection. Think about it. In the old days, can you remember Nokia?
Yes.
What was it, the 911 or something, or the 1110, I don't know. You could throw that across the room.
3310.
That's it. You could bring it from this side, and you could chuck it around the room. It will bounce off every wall, and you could still make a call, right? Nowadays, you drop your phone, and it's history. It's got more stuff in it. It's more complex, so it's very bad for it to drop. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It needs more protection. Okay, so that's exactly why it is like this, right? Let's have a look. Explain why most angiosperms, are able to produce less pollen than gymnosperms. I've just told you. Now, you don't know what an angiosperm is, right? I haven't taught it to you. We're going to learn about this one, this brother, right? This one next week, because it's so complicated and it's so cool that we're going to have an own lesson for it. I think that's brilliant, right? But angiosperms, these ones, right, are flowering plants. Why do they not have to produce as much sperm as gymnosperm. Can you remember we said that gymnosperms have air, right? Wind. They're sitting on the top of the tree, right? And there's another tree over there, and they don't chaff. They don't go, hey, but I'm going to send these things your way. Catch them. It's not going to do that. Okay? All he's going to do is the wind's going to blow, and he's going to sway in the wind like this, right? And the pollen's going to go, and pollen's going to fly through to the air and hopefully land on a female, right? Now, Angiosperms says to a bee, come here, bee, stand here, I'll give you some pollen, right? He takes the pollen, the bee goes off, he lands on another plant of the same, and now the sperm is there. The pollen is already there. It's perfect. I mean, what more could you want, right? That is so cool. That is exactly the main reason. This is here, catch. This one is, you're going to get it. You get what I'm trying to say? Hey, India, I think that's a nice way of explaining it.
I get it, yeah.
Nice. I love it when people get it. Now,
yes.
Next one. Explain the terms sexual and asexual. Sexual, you need a male gamete and you need a female gamete, and they've got to fuse for fertilization, and we can make a new genetically different organism or plant, right? If we have a look at asexual, it is A means it's not going to happen. We don't have sex. It happens with things like, I know somebody asked me this question, but I'm going to give it to you just now. We get a new person made from me, only one person by itself. We have things like mitosis. You remember that? Right, so that's asexual and sexual. Now, let's look at the next one. Why do most higher forms of organisms use sexual reproduction? Remember I said to you, we are complicated, and we want the good, and we want the good things to go to the next generation. If I'm complex, right, I need to pass on my genes to somebody else. I need to change them to make us better. The better we become, the better it is for us. And how do I become better? I share my genes with somebody else. We take my genes and somebody else's genes, and we make a new person that's completely different to us, which makes them better. It makes the organism a better organism. Whereas when you are small and not insignificant, but very small, and you're not that complicated, it becomes easier to actually survive on asexual reproduction. Right. Okay. Now, what does it mean when a plant is said to be hermaphrodite? Now, I got this question. Am I right?
Yes.
Well, who sent it?
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm going up. That was Tommy.
Tommy, that's it. Tommy sent this. A beautiful question. It was perfect. Hermaphrodite, where is it? There it is. Hermaphrodite means male and female on both plants. A male and female on one plant. Okay, do you understand that? It's like if a human is a hermaphrodite, he's got male and female sexual organs, right? A plant that is a hermaphrodite is what? Can you remember the word? Is it Homo Spores or Heterosporus? What do you think?
Homo Spores.
Homo Spores means all of the same sex on the same plant. In other words, all female. So it is?
The other one.
Heterosporus. Very nice. There we go. It was close. Heterosporus. Very nice. If you got Heterosporus, I'm impressed. Another one is hermaphrodite is Heterosporus. Right.
I was wondering, can hermaphrodites
They
produce?
can't. They cannot, because sometimes the female part is not developed when the male part is, or the other way around. The female is developed where the male isn't. Right. So I'm going to leave this question here. And I've heard of a stunning question. I know you've got it.
Yes.
Can you remember what was it?
Okay, there's so many questions. There are so many questions here on the page, and I don't know which one's stunning. So I've got 50 seconds. The timer says, what do you call the process whereby the ferns and moss reproduce?
Where the ferns and moss it's
reproduce.
Reproduction. It's simple. The asexual is the first part, where they make that little pieces. You know, the spores, and they grow the prothallus and all of that, right? That is asexual reproduction. And then the sexual is where the sperm and egg meet together. Okay.
Fantastic.
So, I'm sorry, guys, but that's most I can give you for today. So
Okay,
Indeed, it's all yours.
let me finish it for you, Llewellyn. I wish that I could actually have another hour of grade 11 life science with Llewellyn, maybe one day. So guys, grade 12s, don't you leave. You are up next. Thank you, grade 11s, for such an awesome show. We had such a smashing time. We will try and answer as many of the questions on the page as possible. If you do need things answered, helpdesk@learnextra.co.za. Bye guys, see you same time, same place next week.